There are two things you notice when driving around Kampala. The first are the borda-bordas, motorcycle taxis, which are definitely the quickest and easiest way to avoid a traffic jam. The second is the amount of banks. There are over 20 banks in Uganda to service a population of some 30 million people. While these banks were not exposed to toxic subprime assets, the financial sector suffered a major shock when, like other open African economies, foreign investors pulled their money out during the height of the crisis. Starting from a low base has been a blessing in disguise, as less damage was caused. But industry players say there are tangible measures that can be put in place to buffer the industry from future crises.
From nothing, we have a market with a market cap of about 5.8 billion shillings. We've seen trading, from nothing to about 121 billion last year. So there's been progress, and I think we will need to just keep ensuring that we have more products listed on the market. On the policy framework, we need to develop institutions that have long-term liabilities. So there's quite a bit of work to do with the development of the pension sector, pension funds, liberalization of pension funds, because we don't have too many institutions with long-term liabilities, apart from the National Social Security Fund. So that's an area we still need to work on. We also need to educate our people about transparency in business, accountability.
Regional financial activity is thriving though. Just last year, Kenya's Equity Bank bought out Uganda Microfinance for 1.6 billion shillings. Not a bad investment, seeing as the bank now opens around 1,000 new accounts every day.
Before Equity came in, we were registering on average about 120 accounts every day. 3 months later, we are registering about 300. Another 3 months later, we are registering about 800. Today, we are registering over 1,000 accounts every day. And this is because we have increased our network, we have opened up banking halls, and we have done away with the bank charges and ledger fees. So anybody can come and open an account just like that.
And in June last year, the bank consolidated its presence in the country by becoming the 11th stock to be listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Mortgages and similar banking products are pretty nascent in Uganda. But a growing middle class and wealthy expats returning to the country means that these are certainly more popular than in the United States or Britain. If you're thinking about investing in real estate in Africa, you might want to think about Uganda. Political stability as well as increased investor inflows has meant that this sector is one of the fastest contributors to the country's GDP.
Uganda is a very new market in terms of real estate. Given all the upheaval that's happened in the past, people are realizing that now an investment in real estate is actually the way to go. It's the most steady form of investment that people can actually get into. So you'll see that there is a lot of developments taking place, a lot of companies actually putting in real estate all over the place.
With around 1 million houses to build in Kampala alone, demand is driving the market. But for the residential sector, selling the idea of gated communities similar to those found in South Africa was no easy task.
It was very hard to change people's perceptions, as Ugandans like their own space, like to have their own plots. But once they saw the project come up, the first phase of the project, we've actually sold out about 70% of the first phase. And Ugandans are coming round to the idea of community living.
And overcoming perceptions that political stability is still a concern is an ongoing challenge.
For myself, if I can talk on a personal basis, I've lived in the US for over 27 years, and literally 8 months ago we came back home, my family, my husband and all my children, and I would not do anything else. I mean, I realized that, whatever happened in the past has happened in the past. The amount of growth and the amount of development, the amount of economic change that's taken place in Uganda, and I think on Africa as a whole, is phenomenal. And so anybody that's worried about what political issues there may be, you know what? They don't need to worry.
One thing that is a worry, though, is the country's infrastructure, although this is top of government's agenda.
You'll go around town. We have some good, nice roads, but some of the roads are really terrible. And government has promised us that in coming years, they're going to put their energies to roads. The biggest challenge has been the roads. In terms of water and electricity and other networks, telephone lines and all that, I think these companies like National Water, they've done so well that they've put water in places that have never received piped water before. And to us, that is good as people are considering real estate, because it gives value to the properties that we promote and properties that we develop.
There are plans underway to construct between 1,200 and 1,500 kilometres of roads in Uganda before 2012. So they are looking in the right direction. They're sensible enough to look at where the mining operations are, where the oil operations are, and immediately improving the infrastructure. The road from Kampala to the eastern border at Malaba has just been resealed to an extremely high standard. The road from Kampala to Hoima, which is the hub of the oil industry, has just recently been resealed. So the government is looking very seriously and taking advice from the investors, which I think is important. The government here is prepared to listen to investors to take advice so that everybody works together.
While road infrastructure might still be a challenge, Uganda was one of the first countries in Africa to embrace mobile phone technology. The continent's biggest mobile phone company, MTN, also happens to be Uganda's biggest taxpayer. But the question is, how much room is there for other players? TalkTel is a new entrant to the market run by two entrepreneurs determined to make mobile costs more affordable.
We thought that we can offer services that were very competitive. It would allow the common man who's making an average of $100 per month to be able to afford the service, therefore expanding the telecommunications amongst the common people. At the moment, the tariffs are cost prohibitive for most of the locals in Africa. The prices are too high. We feel that we have a product that we can offer to the general public that they can afford.
So what's it like investing in an industry known for high returns, but also high risk?
At the current environment, it's very conducive for American entrepreneurs, American companies. There are ground floor opportunities here that you can come in and take advantage of. There are very good incentives, tax-free breaks, and the VAT sometimes eliminated for importing of equipment, which allow us as telecommunication companies or any other manufacturing or any industry to have a break, and therefore you can have lower operating costs and lower initial setup costs, which will allow us to pass on those savings to the consumers.
Doing Business in Africa is winner of the Best TV Feature of the Diageo Africa Business Reporting Awards.